That's poppycock. Cops catch crooks, not wimpy computers. Poppycock. It's poppycock. I never say that.
Who is more trustworthy? A man who says poppycock or a quarterback?
Oh, I never trust a quarterback.
Why not?
Because they usually throw a vital interception at the wrong time.
Do they?
Certainly the ones that play for the Jets do.
Ah.
And not just the wrong time, every time.
Anyway, pigskin, let's not go down this route. I don't know anything about American football these days.
That's not offensive, that's just what they make the ball out of. Or in the olden days. Who's your favourite poppycock sayer? Is it this fellow, or is it perhaps your favourite Columbo villain?
Cassidy?
No.
My favourite Columbo
I
villain?
don't know if he's your favourite or not, but he's in it like 4 times.
Jack Cassidy's my favourite Columbo villain.
Oh,
Robert Culp?
Not your favourite, not him.
Magoon?
Yes.
Yes.
I remember him going poppycock.
Yes, that's true. Yes, that is true. Yeah, no, he's not my most favourite Columbo villain.
No, who's your most favourite poppycocker?
Magoon.
Yeah, I think he edges Sledge for the delivery.
Yes. There's more plosives in it.
Yes.
Anyway, we're discussing Sledgehammer this week. Big Nazi on campus.
Yes.
Anything you want to say? Do you want to beg this week early?
Let's do some early begging. Please rate and review the show. I didn't ask last week for people to do this, so hopefully they'll feel obliged now that we're
I'm sure they will.
coming back to them. iTunes would be the best place to do it if you possibly could. Rate, review, subscribe to the show, even if that's not where you listen to it, because it helps more people find Sledgehammer and listen to our chat about the show, and hopefully go and find the show as well and watch some more of that. Mm-hmm. You can chat to us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, we're at Sledgecast, or on sledgehammerpodcast.com, where we have a post up for each episode as it comes out.
Do they still say hut, hut, hut in American football?
It depends what their snap count is, but yes.
Their what?
Snap count.
How about a summary?
Okay.
Crack on.
In Big Nazi on campus, Sledge and Dory are tasked with investigating the death of a history student at the local university. The two officers employ very different approaches in an attempt to prove whether gut instinct or by-the-book methodology is the best way to solve a case. Ultimately, the two face a final showdown with a Nazi war hero and his sidekick. All that remains to be seen is whether they can catch the killer before the killer catches them.
Thank you, Ian. As we often do, we start this week in the precinct, and Sledge arrives from a day off with a couple of bullet-laden fish.
Yes.
And what else?
And a suspect.
In an illegal chokehold, he's be quite happy to admit.
He is. And Mayjoy wants to know why he's brought the guy in. We don't hear here.
No.
But we do hear shortly.
We do. Dory is at her desk, and Sledge tells her that he had a great time with his best friend, and that the experts were right. Fish are full of
lead.
Correct.
That's another moment where they've not really been that subtle about the gun thing.
No.
He kind of opens his jacket and strokes it at this point.
Yep. We need to rein it in, guys. Rein it in.
Pull it back. Pull it back.
Sledge sits down on a very small chair.
Very small.
And asks if Dory is using the computer for dating purposes.
She explains to know that she's got a new sort of criminal software program that lets her compare MOs in the neighbourhood or in the local area, see if they can identify crimes or possible links between crimes.
Yeah, I think what she said is that she can now cross-reference MOs of old crimes.
Yeah.
And see if they match up with any new ones.
That's it.
Sledge is sceptical as usual. Says it's poppycock. Cops catch crooks, not wimpy computers.
Yeah. I think we heard.
What do we hear next?
Trunk yelling. He's upset that Hammer brought a guy in because he gave off bad vibes.
And Sledge is disappointed with the Trunk. He says, you should understand a good cop works off hunches and intuition, and says that, this guy was in the shooting position.
That's right.
What does Trunk tell him?
He was weeding his garden.
Watering his plants.
Yeah.
Says, yeah. And so Sledge says, yeah, well, fair enough. Every system breaks down now and then.
Never broke down for Columbo. His intuition was 100% on the money.
Yeah, sometimes 2 on the money. A little bit of Columbo magic. So Dory uses this scenario to emphasise the purpose of correct procedure, and Trunk then assigns them both a case.
If you use standard police procedure, situations like this wouldn't happen. Well, would you call getting a gut feeling about somebody and then blowing them away good police work?
No, I'd call that the process of elimination. Hammer! Ooh, your temples are really throbbing.
Don't care what you do. I do care. Just get out to the university, please.
I'm already taking an adult education class in philosophy.
Really? Who? Kierkegaard? Spinoza?
Jack Webb.
Security police has just found a co-ed's dead body. Get going.
Well, I guess we're really not in that much of a hurry, right? I mean, she's not going anywhere.
Sledge, we should
Dead.
go.
Please. I'm a fool.
Hammer openly taunting Trunk there at the end.
A number of nice lines and touches in that.
Tell me about Jack Webb. I know Dragnet.
I don't know much about him other than, yes, he was huge in Dragnet and that he at one point was married to the first Miss America.
Why would Sledge be studying his philosophy?
I think he's an old school cop.
Right.
I don't think
That's his
there's
reputation.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's reasonable. I loved the line about the temples throbbing.
Mm-hmm.
That was great.
And I like the line at the end about there not being a rush, she's dead, you know.
Bro, that's exactly what I would have said in the same situation.
There's no hurry here. So they head over to this generic university.
Where education is a bargain. I think there was a barcode on the sign as well.
Was it?
Yeah.
In the women's dorm, Dory wants to see whose approach works best, and Sledge is up for this challenge.
They don't agree to a specific bet or challenge as such, but yeah, they're going to try their different methods and see who gets the case solved.
So he pushes into the crime scene dorm room by telling the girls to stop gawking, it's just one of their friends brutally murdered.
Yes. And our old friend Norman Blates is there. He explains that she's dead.
Yeah, but firstly, he's puzzled.
Does he use is or was? Because he's never sure. But she's dead. How did he say she died?
Strangled.
I think that was right, asphyxiation of some kind.
Yep.
And she was found by a professor.
Yeah. Now, Sledge refuses to take any notes, preferring to store them in his head, old school Jack Webb style, I think.
And Dory takes her pad out and
Yeah.
writes this all down.
So the victim we find out is Janet Parker, and she was indeed strangled and found by the history professor, Amos McCoy.
Yes, they see him in the corner and he's just kind of sitting still, and Hammer says he did too. And Blake says no, he's just old.
I like that. Before they go over to speak to McCoy, Blake says it was a shame. Not the fact that she's dead.
She was his type.
Yeah.
That was almost a Sledge-like. In fact, Sledge and Columbo-like line.
Yes. They talk to McCoy and he nods confirmation at some basic questioning that Sledge puts to him.
Yeah, he's not very vocal.
Sledge gets fed up, says he knows that these answers already, and he's going to go and talk to the Bangles.
One of the Bangles, yeah. Right, when were the Bangles picked? Was it 81 or was it 88?
All through the 80s.
Okay. Dory continues though with the professor, and he is very upset.
Yes, she was a good student of his, I think a teaching assistant.
And now he has to grade the papers.
Dory asks why he's there, and he says that, well, she'd missed 2 of his classes and he'd come along to see what her excuse was.
Yeah, it's not like her.
No. He admits that death was one of the better excuses he could have.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
He also says they were very close.
He mentions that. After he leaves, Dory kind of looks around for evidence.
Yes. So Sledge is doing his own thing and eventually manages to find out that Janet was a loner but was dating the quarterback from the university team, a guy called Teddy Overman.
Yes, and also that her most recent haircut didn't really suit her.
No. Dory, at the same time, is discovering a large diamond and a number that's been scribbled on a notepad.
Yeah, the page that the number was on has been removed, but by shading the next page, she's able to get the number. Again, a trick we've seen in another show that we'll not refer back to again.
This episode.
Yeah.
Sledge, however, has no time for her theory that the place had been robbed and that there was something more to this murder.
Yeah, he says that all girls' rooms look like this.
He is adamant that Teddy is a killer and he's going to go cuff him.
I did like the exchange. He says that he's found out the name of the murderer, and Dory says, "You mean possible suspect?"
So they head over to the playing field where Teddy is playing in a a game, training exercise, I think.
Yeah, and Sledge and Dory actually approach him on the field while he's playing.
Yeah.
And Sledge has pitched the ball and then absolutely flattened by the opposition.
Yep. He then he pulls out his gun.
To escape the pileup,
Yep.
yes.
And Teddy runs off. And how does Sledge catch him?
He tackles him and arrests him for murder. He didn't even know that Janet was dead.
No. Sledge asks him, well, why are you running away then? And
He says he's in a football game. That doesn't make sense either.
no, not after. Yeah, so he claims this total innocence.
Yes.
And we can see that Dory agrees that he may not, in fact, be the killer.
Yeah. I mean, they go back to the precinct.
Yeah. Sledge and Dory question Teddy.
I was at practice all day. Besides, I haven't seen Janet in months. She was too busy working on her research project.
Yeah, and your big dumb jock ego couldn't take it, so you killed her, didn't you? You're supposed to hurt the one you love, not murder him.
No way. Our relationship wasn't based on passion. It was mostly fiscal.
That's physical, you missing link.
No, fiscal. She was loaded and she spent money on me.
All right, enough chit-chat. You're under arrest.
Sledge, wait. He's got a solid alibi. What have you got? A hunch.
All right, pigskin. But just remember, you're still suspecto numero uno. Every breath you take, every move you make, I'll be watching you. That's police talk. Now get out.
Does Sledge's decision to focus in on the first suspect despite all the evidence remind you at all of the Amanda Knox case?
Yes. Did you watch the documentary?
I did.
Very entertaining and interesting, and I have to admit, having watched it, I think my mind was changed.
Yes, and I know a number of folk who won't watch it because they think she's guilty and they're not interested in watching something that she's involved in.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the documentary is quite persuasive. I'm not going to say
Definitely.
it's only one side of the story, but
Of course.
it's quite persuasive.
Mm-hmm.
I saw this week that Ken Kratz has got a book out
As you know.
showing why Making a Murderer missed some critical evidence and revealing some never before heard evidence,
Oh, yeah.
and making him a few quid in the
Yeah, he's got to
profits.
earn a buck somehow these days.
Oh, I think he's been on podcasts and stuff as well.
I'm sure. Anyway, did you like how this scene ended?
Yeah, she throws the ball. Dory throws the ball to Teddy and he just starts running as if he's on the field.
Knocking people out the way.
Yeah.
It's later in the precinct, and Dory is checking Janet's bank account and discovers that Teddy was correct. She was loaded, and she wants to know where Janet got her money from, especially as the professor had previously said that I think she had no parents.
No family.
No family, yeah.
Well, that's only one source of evidence on that, but yes. Mayjoy comes over with the diamond. It's been valued.
How much?
$50,000?
Whoa. But Sledge does not want to be dazzled by facts.
No, he's not interested in experts or anything like that.
He has his man.
That's it.
It's a boyfriend. So we're in Trunk's office.
Yes. I thought you were going to give us a clip from the opening line of this scene. I quite enjoyed that.
Remind me?
Trunk knows what gut instinct feels like because he feels it every time Hammer comes
Yeah, I
into
could have
his
used that one.
office.
Clearly feeling the pressure and medicating for it, self-medicating for it,
Yeah.
Trunk asks Hammer for an update.
Yeah, Hammer's convinced the boyfriend did it, so Trunk wants to know if that's the case, and the case is closed. Why is Dory still interviewing a jeweller?
So we get outside to Dory's desk, and she has a very extravagant gent with her, because this was the number written on the pad.
Yes.
Or his was a number written on the pad.
I like the way that Trunk described this as the outer office.
Is that what he said?
He said, yeah, Dory's in the outer office interviewing a...
From now on, we shall refer to it as the outer office.
Yeah, outer... That's only compared to if your universe is centred on Trunk's office.
he's a boss.
I would have just called it the office.
Yeah.
But yes. Yeah, the jeweller confirms that the jewels are valuable after a bit of a shakedown from Sledge.
But unfortunately, he can shed no light on where she got them from.
No, the jeweller-client relationship is sacred, and rule 1 is you do not ask where the jewels came from.
What's rule 2?
No shirt, no shoes, no service. Hammer seems annoyed at rule 2.
Yeah, but the jeweller does have some earrings that would accentuate Sledge's glorious lobes in the future.
Yes, that's right.
Sledge reluctantly admits that there might now be more to things than he first thought, but he insists that Teddy is still the killer.
Yes, but Dory's off to see the professor, and Sledge says she's going to discover nothing, nil, nada, and he's still at it as they arrive at the professor's home. Black hole. They get there, and Sledge is still going on, and Dory says to him, if you're so sure, that we're not going to learn anything. Why have you come? And he points out that there's a gun shop around the corner with a spring clearance on landmines.
I like that. A blonde maid answers the door and tells them that the professor is waiting in, and Sledge interrupts her and finishes her sentence, he thinks, by saying study.
Yep.
But
No, he calls it the rumpus room.
well, she calls it the rumpus room.
Yeah.
And they're shown through. The professor offers them a couple of seats.
Yes, behind desks.
Little school desks. And he denies that Janet having these jewels is odd. He says many students these days have expensive items and cars and what
Yeah,
have you.
mutual funds, and he also has never heard the phrase rumpus room.
No. He says that Frida the maid just likes winding up.
Yeah, people that come in. He goes on to talk about Janet.
Yes.
Janet's particular interest. She was doing a thesis.
Yeah, fascination, I think he says.
On the Third Reich.
Mm-hmm.
On Himmler, Goering, and von Heltheimer.
I've heard of two of those, yep. I don't know who Himmler is.
No, I've never heard of Himmler. The professor's very lucid when he talks about von Heltheimer. He's very enthusiastic. He says it's one of Hitler's favourites. He killed more than the famous American hotshots, and experts believe he's dead.
Just then, Frida interrupts to say that Sledge has a call, and he at this point happily leaves to take it.
He's not interested in what the professor's saying.
No. Outside in the hallway, Frida suspiciously listens on as Sledge takes this call, and it's Ted, who has a really important file that
Marked real important.
that Janet had given him, and he wants to meet in the men's locker rooms immediately.
Yes, so Hammer asks Frida for directions.
Yep, he thinks that she would know where they were.
Apparently. And they leave. Is this where he does the Bones and McCoy joke?
Yeah, well, before he returns to tell Dory about the call, we hear the professor tell her that Janet was a brilliant student, but also looked dynamite in tight jeans. And you can see Dory acting appropriately uncomfortable.
Yes, I don't think she's very keen on the professor.
Yeah, she's a bit disturbed. So Sledge comes back in and they say their goodbyes, and he says...
He calls him Bones, and then he corrects himself to McCoy, and I think it's kind of partly a play on the bit earlier when he said he looked he was dead.
Yes.
He's gaunt, but it's also a Star Trek joke because Dr. McCoy was Bones.
Of course, yeah, I got that. Even I got that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You got it from the new movies, didn't you?
No, I've only seen the first one.
That's where he explains why he's called Bones.
Yeah, I've only seen it once at the cinema.
So
Can't remember it.
that's all his ex-wife left him with when she divorced him.
Yeah. No, Ian, unlike yourself, okay, with The Doors and Alfred Hitchcock, I'm aware of, massively popular cultural references such as Bones and McCoy and Spock and all that type of stuff. I haven't watched it all, but I've heard of them.
You can name two of the characters.
Three, I just name three.
Bones
there.
and McCoy are the same character.
Are they?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Well, still, I'm aware of them. I know it's Star Trek.
Okay.
Kirk,
There you go, that's three.
Picard.
It's a different show, but yeah.
Yeah, same thing.
Okay.
Hulu is a...
Sulu.
Sulu.
Or you think of Uhura?
A combination of both there.
Okay.
It's a Huru.
Uhuru.
Huru, yeah. Scotty.
There you go.
That's about all of them, really. Genghis Khan. No, the one with the big head. What
What
are
are
they
you
called?
talking about?
The big monsters.
The Klingons.
Klingons, that's
They're
what
not
I meant.
monsters, they're aliens. What about the one that was in 2 weeks ago in Sledgehammer, the actor?
Oh, no, sorry, before you go, there's Chekhov. I know him from Columbo.
There you go. And what about from the Sledgehammer?
It was in Star Trek.
Yeah. You pointed it out to me.
Did I?
I missed him. He was in at the start with the volleyball girls.
Yeah, Data.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, fine.
Oh, and Mrs. Columbo.
Yes.
Mhm.
She was in Voyager. Yep. And in one of the movies.
So yeah, I know about 6 or 7 of some of them.
Yeah.
Maybe I get a few mixed up and some of them are the same people, but
You're going to edit that bit out, though.
probably.
Anyway, yes. They head to the locker room, but they appear to have been delayed on their way.
Yes. Apparently Frida gave them misdirection.
Apparently. Well, they don't know that yet,
No.
but Dory's about to figure it out. There's a hilarious suicide note attached to Teddy's body.
But how do they find the body first
Well,
of all?
Hammer's punching the lockers because he's annoyed that he's arrived too late, and one of them swings open to reveal Teddy's body inside it.
And what does this note say?
I don't have it word for word, but it's along the lines of, I killed Janet, and now, as you can see, I have killed myself. Hammer wants the case closed. He thinks that's fine. But Dory has her suspicions raised at this point.
Yeah, I mean, she says, who knew where they were going and who gave them these wrong directions? Sledge thinks that Dory is just a poor loser and leaves, apparently, for the precinct.
To file his report.
Yeah, whilst Dory returns to speak to the professor.
She does.
So back at his house.
Frida points out that the professor cannot be disturbed. I like Dory's response.
Yes, she tells him that he is disturbed.
The professor is disturbed. And she reveals that the professor is von Heldheimer.
Well, what happens is she pushes past Frida into the study, only to find him burning these papers and photos.
Yeah. But there's ones of him with what's meant to be Hitler in playful poses.
Yeah, getting Hitler's got him in a headlock, rubbing his head. Giving him yeah.
And he says, "Und now I know how Gary Hart felt." Who's Gary Hart?
Shall we find out?
Okay. Right, I've investigated it, and it's such an obscure reference nowadays that it's not even worth us discussing.
Fine. So what happens next?
Well, Dory's got one question left for the professor. She's just got one thing she does not understand.
What's that?
How such a free old man could kill 2 young students.
And he says he didn't.
No, Frida did it for him.
Yeah. So Frida bursts in and tackles Dory.
Yes, and the professor goes back to burning the papers.
Yep. So they're having this fight, and who appears and where from?
Sledge comes bursting through the window and gets wrapped up in a curtain on the thin possibility that Dory might have been right.
He fires off a couple of shots, but Dory already has the situation under control.
Yeah, and the professor is told that he's next.
Do you think he's making a run for this, an escape attempt, or do you think it's a suicide?
I don't think it can't be. If Sledge has come in the window, it must be ground floor or first floor. There's no evidence of Sledge being on a rope or.
He might have climbed up a tree or
I suppose he could
some
have.
sort of pipe work.
I don't know. I don't think it really matters. I think
Yeah, it matters because, well, we haven't explained what happens.
Yeah, okay, yeah. He went running and flying out the window.
He jumped through that's why I'm asking you, he jumped through a closed window.
Yes.
And we hear him land.
I think he doesn't want to get captured and tried as a Nazi. I think that's probably what it is. It's nothing to do with the murders.
Yeah. So he's attacked by the neighbour's pit bull.
Yes.
And Sledge eventually commands it to
sit, and it does. It just backs down from far away.
Yeah. And at this point, as you mentioned, this is when Sledge admits that he came back on the very slight chance that Dory was in fact right.
But he says it in such a way that you know he worked out for himself that she was right.
Yeah. So we head back over to Trunk's office for this week's epilogue, and he is congratulating Dory for her good work. But Dory and Sledge have something to say.
Fine, by the book police work, Doro. You should be very proud of yourself. Janet Parker bled von Feldheimer dry, and with his Nazi spoils gone, he had to kill her to protect his secret.
These Nazis are such extremists. Why didn't he just flunk her?
Actually, sir, Hammer does deserve some of this credit. No, I mean, it was a combination of gut instinct and standard procedure that cracked the case. Well, I have to admit it, some of Sledge's methods are valid.
Well, I have to admit I was on the scent from the beginning, sir. That's because I'm a cop. A special breed of cat. The eye of an eagle, the heart of a lion, the guts of a mongoose. Let's face it, a cop is a one-man zoo with a gun.
I was a bit surprised that Hammer got all those animal references basically right.
Heart of a mongoose?
Yeah.
They get big hearts.
Well, he said the guts of a mongoose.
Oh, guts.
Because the mongoose or mongoose fight snakes.
Okay.
That's what they're famous for.
Fine.
Yeah. During that last little self-eulogising speech, Dory and Trunk obviously sneak out the office.
Yeah.
I don't know that Dory's assessment of the case actually justifies, or is justified by what happened. I don't think Sledge's methods really helped her that much at all.
Yeah. Again, I think she's showing loyalty.
Team spirit.
Mm-hmm. Partnership here.
Maybe throwing him a little bone, given that he did admit she was right in the end.
Yeah. And basically thanking him for coming back anyway to help and save her.
Absolutely.
So, enjoy it?
Yeah, it was good. Well, the problem I had with it is that the title of the episode's a spoiler for the big twist.
I suppose. Yeah.
Which took a bit of the suspense out of it, but it was still funny. There were some good moments. I liked the way that the professor was played. Wasn't such a fan of the way that Frida was played, but it was okay.
Did you have a favourite line this week?
I did. Hang on, I will tell you.
While you're looking up your favourite line, mine was, it's just one of their friends brutally murdered.
That was a good one. I quite like the bit when he said, "Is he dead too?" No, he's just old.
Yeah, that's nice. So yeah, no, an enjoyable episode. I think it was an improvement on last week's.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's a trajectory that will continue.
Yeah, and that gun overuse was only at the beginning, so hopefully maybe they'll learn their lesson and tone it down again.
Some production information.
Okay.
September 24th, 1987 was the original air date. It was directed by Chuck Braverman. We've seen him before, and this is in fact his final of 6 appearances, or 6 credits.
Okay.
Mert Rich, Brian Pollock and Alan Spencer were credited with writing this week. I think Alan Spencer had a story credit,
Okay.
but we're well aware of Mert and Brian.
We are.
Guest stars. Ray Wallston played Professor McCoy. He died in 2001, aged 86. He is most famous for his role in My Favourite Martian,
Okay.
a TV show where he played the titular Martian.
That's where the New York Jets' most famous player of recent years got his nickname.
Was it?
His name is Curtis Martin. He was my favourite Martin.
Yeah, fair enough. He was also in The Sting, one of my favourite movies. Picket Fences, Murder, She Wrote. Fast Times at Regiment High, and Fast Times, which was the spin-off TV
Okay.
show from that. He was in Star Trek Voyager and Star Trek Next Generation. He won 2 Emmys for Picket Fences and a Tony back in the 50s, and he is a star on the Walk of Fame. Aubrey Morris played Jerry Begg the jeweller. He died in 2015, aged 89. He was in A Clockwork Orange.
Ah, that's a good one.
Yeah, but he should have been last week. Yeah. He was also in the original 70s Wicker Man. He's been in Deadwood, Murder, She Wrote, Lovejoy.
I've not seen the 70s Wicker Man. I saw the Nicolas Cage one and I hated it.
Oh, you should hate it. It's a nonsense. But
It didn't make any sense.
No, it was... Yeah, bunk 'em.
Right. Well, that'll be why then.
Yeah.
Is the old one better?
Yes. The old one has a sinister, creepy vibe to it.
And it ends in a music festival in Dumfries.
Aubrey Morris also was in Columbo. He played Fred in Ashes to Ashes.
Which one was Fred?
Can't remember. I think Fred might have been like a vicar.
Okay.
I think.
At one of the services.
Yeah, I can
The
remember
one
the
that he was
scene.
rehearsing.
Maybe yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, that face.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Larry Poindexter played Teddy Overman. He was born in 1959. Best known for the lead role, I think, in The Hard Times of R.J. Berger. He has been in Days of Our Lives, Bones, CSI, 17 Again, Blade, the TV show, General Hospital, Jag, and Duet, amongst other things.
Soap actor.
And Yama Nirvana played Frida. She's born in 1953. She has been in Brewster's Millions, The Last Precinct, Dark Seduction, and Another 48 Hours, which was her last appearance until 2015, 25 years after that, when she was in something fairly recently. So a 25-year gap.
But was she in the thing recently, or did it use footage of her from the past?
I'm not sure. I think she was in it.
Okay.
Could double check that, but I think she was. Maybe she.
But like when Peter Cushing was in the new Star Wars movie this year, and he's been dead for years. You're not caught up with that? They used CGI to recreate him.
Nah.
It's very interesting.
Is it? Okay. So some trivia. The title is a play on the big man on campus cliche.
Yeah.
Apparently, when they were interviewing Teddy in the precinct, and he looked up in the first scene, and his eye black had
Maybe tears.
yes, it was supposedly a reference to a Tammy Faye Baker, who was a disgraced TV evangelist, who at the time did a famous interview where her mascara had ran like that.
Right.
So I think
I
that.
didn't get that one.
No, I didn't myself, but that's.
It occurs to me, of course, the big man on campus would usually be the quarterback of the football team.
Yeah,
So,
I'd imagine so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Earlier, I caught Sledge dismissing 2 uniformed cops as Spellman and Shapiro. I couldn't find out much about Spellman, but Shapiro there's a Robert Shapiro who was a film producer.
Okay.
So I'm not sure of that was intentional. If there's
It
references.
sounds like it might be. But
Yeah. Also, we had the Bangles and the police references.
Yes.
And that's about me. Next week we've got Play It Again, Sledge.
Sam.
We'll discuss that next week.
Excellent. Well, we'll see folk then, I guess.
Did you beg
I
already?
did it at the start.
You did, didn't you?
Yeah, because if we do it at the end, folk just turn off. They don't hear us saying goodbye to them.
Okay.
Cheerio, guys.
Right.